Welcome back to the World Revolution News. Today is November 18, 2011. My name is Thomas Jefferson, and this is the 25th episode of the World Revolution News that started back on June 3rd and airs every Friday. As America is engulfed in the 2-month anniversary of the Occupy protest that we have been proud to support since our September 23rd episode, the Occupy movement has been historically overwhelming to try and cover. It still has the U.S. corporate media in a tailspin in trying to figure out why the protest is happening. Anyone who is up to date on current events knows why the protest is consuming the United States. So, in today's episode we will cover protests that occurred around Europe this week, outside of the U.S., that is not being covered by any mainstream media. Here is Emily Pankhurst with more.
In revolutionary news in Europe. Yesterday, more than 30,000 Greeks took to the streets of Athens in a protest against the newly unelected government that must impose painful spending cuts and tax rises if the country is to escape bankruptcy. Greek police fired tear gas against the protesters as protest marchers beat drums, waved flags, and shouted the following: EU, IMF, out! End quote. As the regular viewers, you know how these austerity measures are really starting to take a toll on the Greek people overall. Also yesterday in Italy, thousands of students clashed with police across the country in protests against budget cuts, while transport strikes halted buses and trains. The clashes came as the unelected appointee, Premier Mario Monti, prepared to unveil his anti-crisis strategy ahead of a confidence vote in his day-old government. Students in Milan marched to Bocconi University, which forms Italy's business elite. Mr. Monti, an economist and former European Union Competition Commissioner, is Bocconi's president. Mr. Monti formed his government yesterday, shunning politicians and turning to bankers and other business figures to fill key cabinet posts. Mr. Monti is not a leader of any Italian political party. He was only recently made a senator for life in the Italian Senate, just 9 days ago, on November 9, 2011. Until then he never served the Italian people. He is also the European chairman of the Trilateral Commission, a think tank founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller. In addition, he is a leading member of the exclusive Bilderberg group of economists. And last but not least, Mario is also an international advisor to Goldman Sachs. If there ever was a perfect puppet for the powers that be, it would be Mario. 2 days ago on Wednesday in Ireland, thousands of students marched through central Dublin to protest against the threat of rising fees and shrinking grants in Ireland's latest austerity budget under an EU-IMF bailout. Gary Edmond, the president of the Union of Students in Ireland, told a massive crowd of over 10,000 cheering protesters when saying the following: "Less than 9 months on, we have a government in hiding, a government that has failed to live up to its promises, and today we are sending a message to that government. Shame on you." End quote. The European fever has picked up since the US has rejuvenated the world movement.
We had no idea that 25 weeks ago that the world would be in full revolutionary mode. Why are they having a revolution? Because it's the United Banking Cartel versus us, not me versus you, for we are the many, and they are the few. And, on a quick post note, the reason we haven't covered the enormous, and of course very proud of, Occupy movement, is because here in the US, the TV news show, Democracy Now!, is doing a historically media precedence in defining something that is hard to capture on a daily basis, yet somehow they have managed to do so since 1996. Democracy Now! Is a daily TV and radio news program, hosted by Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez, airing on over 900 stations and evolving the largest community media collaboration in the United States. They began 15 years ago as a radio station. It airs on Link TV and on Free Speech TV, 375 for direct TV viewers, and 9,410 on Dish Network. If you're not watching Democracy Now!, then you don't know what's going on in the Occupy movement. They have defined the meaning, unlike the corporate-driven lamestream media. We would be lying if we said that they weren't the inspiration for this broadcast. I would like to end this week's episode with something that sounds like a joke, but is not. What do you call a priest, a pregnant teenager, and an 84-year-old woman being violated? Answer: a pepper spray attack by the Seattle Police Department this last week.
Thanks for watching the World Revolution News. Next week there will be no broadcast over Thanksgiving weekend. So have a good week everyone and a happy holiday.